All right, hi everybody. Welcome to this guidance session. We're talking about stress management this week. And let's just get started. We're going to talk about stress, sources of stress, stress management, how you can work with stress, and also a kind of a new perspective on stress. We always think of stress as being something bad, but we got a new way to look at stress. So first things first. Actually, did we do this when we share computer sound? We want to make sure we share computer sound because we got a couple of videos we're going to show you.
Mr. Hall, it looks like the chat feature is on, but I think that what we'll do is ask, I think people, if you have questions, we can do Q&A. You can do it in the question and answer section. Yeah. And just specifically around what we are, with the content that we have that we're going to be presenting on.
All right, we can do that.
Great.
Okay.
And we can go through while we're waiting to, for folks that don't know who we are or are new to these presentations, I'm Ms. Moran. I'm one of the counselors. I tend to work with folks whose last name starts towards the end of the alphabet.
And I'm Ms. Pastori, and I tend to work with students who are with the last names in the middle of the alphabet, and I'm also one of the school counselors.
I'm Mr. Hall. Obviously, I have the front of the alphabet since I'm all that's left, and one of the three school counselors. And so our next slide here, so throw your questions in the Q&A. We'll get to those. And then let's take a look. It's little kids are explaining to us what stress is. It's sort of a cute little video. We'll take a shot at that.
Do you guys stress each other out sometimes?
More than sometimes. Usually she just annoys me, but sometimes we do get along.
What's the best thing?
Not all the time. Stress is like you're tired or something.
When you're really mad and angry.
What stresses you out?
My teacher, but don't tell her this.
I won't tell her.
Sometimes people break my toys.
You show us your angry mad face. What would be a good way to calm down?
Go up in your room and lay down and read.
Play with my dog or do something to get it off my mind.
Pet your cat. Take some deep breaths. Like that.
There you go. Super cute. Little kids talking about stress and also some really good strategies to manage your stress. But here we go. So I want to...
Do you guys stress each other out
We're going
sometimes?
ahead of this. There we go. So I want to talk about another way to think about stress. And so we've got a TED Talk here that TED Talks are already short, but this is a super whittled down, edited version of this talk to get the high points for you. Just on a new way to think about stress. So we're gonna let you take a look at this, and then we'll talk about it. But you've always heard that stress is super bad for you, and it's often been called the silent killer, and she actually references that in here. But there's some other ways to think about stress. So we're gonna take a peek at this, and then we'll be back with you in 3 minutes. So here we go.
I have a confession to make. For years, I've been telling people stress makes you sick, but I've changed my mind about stress. I want to change yours. Let me start with the study that tracked 30,000 adults in the United States for 8 years. And they started by asking people, how much stress have you experienced in the last year? They also asked, do you believe that stress is harmful for your health? People who experienced a lot of stress in the previous year had a 43% increased risk of dying. But that was only true for the people who also believed that stress is harmful for your health. People who experienced a lot of stress but did not view stress as harmful, they had the lowest risk of dying of anyone in the study. 182,000 Americans died prematurely from the belief that stress is bad for you. I want you all to pretend that you are participants in a study. You come into the laboratory. You have to give a 5-minute impromptu speech on your personal weaknesses to a panel of expert evaluators sitting right in front of you. Now, if you were actually in this study, you'd probably be a little stressed out. Your heart might be pounding, you might be breathing faster. And normally, we interpret these physical changes clues as anxiety, but what if you viewed them instead as signs that your body was preparing you to meet this challenge? Now, that is exactly what participants were told in a study conducted at Harvard University. And participants who learned to view the stress response as helpful, well, they were less stressed out, less anxious, more confident. Their physical stress response changed. Now, in a typical stress response, your heart rate goes up and your blood vessels constrict. But in the study, when participants viewed their stress response as helpful, their blood vessels stayed relaxed like this. Their heart was still pounding, but this is a much healthier cardiovascular profile. It's a lot like what happens in moments of courage. We need to talk about a hormone, oxytocin. Oxytocin makes you crave physical contact with your friends and family. It enhances your empathy. Your pituitary gland pumps this stuff out as part of the stress response. And one of its main roles in your body is to protect your cardiovascular system from the effects of stress. Your heart has receptors for this hormone, and oxytocin helps heart cells regenerate from any stress-induced damage. I want to finish by telling you about one more study. This study tracked about 1,000 adults in the United States, and they started the study by asking, how much stress have you experienced in the last year? They also asked, how much time have you spent helping out friends? People who spent time caring for others showed absolutely no stress-related increase in dying, 0. When you choose to view your stress response as helpful, you create the biology of courage. And when you choose to connect with others under stress, you can create resilience. Thank you.
So there you go, a new way to think about stress. And we're going to go into a little bit more depth with that as we go through this presentation.
So I am sure that many of you are probably under quite a bit of stress right now. I think even just the state of where we're at right now and having to be home more and doing the hybrid schooling for a lot of students has been stressful, not being able to see your friends as much. So I think there's a lot of stressors that are happening. And just the typical ones also, such as if you have to public speak or if you have to take a test, or some people are getting your driver's permit in end of the quarter, which is going to be in about a month or so. And especially if you're behind, but a lot of those are stressors that many of us contend with. And so, and I think if you were to take a minute right now just to think about what are some of the typical stressors that a high school student or that you personally experience, I think there are probably some of these, but also there might be other ones as well. But definitely stress is something that we all experience in some way, and learning how to cope with it is extremely helpful. And why are we talking about this? So you are in a really awesome spot right now, which is as adolescents, you have this really cool thing where your brain is right now wanting to learn new things. And it's using these, whatever you're learning now, got to use it or lose it. So in other words, it's creating these pathways, and the things that you use more often than not are going to stick with you, and it's called pruning. So the ones that you don't end up using as much, those are going to be pruned away. And so now is the time to really learn how to handle stress and what are the coping skills that you need. So trying things out. Some things might not work. Some things might not be as healthy as they should be. And this is the time to kind of roll those out and take those away and prune those out and really start to solidify those pathways of healthy things that you can do to handle your stress. And whatever you do now is going to carry into the future as well. So this is a really, really, really cool time for all of you to be practicing these. So I think stress right now, if you look at it kind of like that speaker was saying, as an opportunity to grow and to learn, that's a really cool way to look at it. This is a great opportunity. And high school is stressful, and each year will likely get more stressful. And any of you are in junior year or senior year, there's the different stresses of looking towards what you're going to do after high school and all sorts of different things. And so your coping skills, you want to keep increasing those to match the level of stress that you have. So, and that is something very possible to do. And again, just matching those so that they're equal with each other and that there's not an imbalance. So, and again, academic, social, all sorts of different things are going on.
So if anyone's ever washed their dog, given their dog a bath, you're going to see what the basic biological stress response in an animal body is. Dogs don't love usually getting a bath, and you can see them try and jump out. You can see them shaking. So we're going to talk a little bit more about anxiety and how things can feel really out of control really fast within your body and what your body's actually doing. So let's check out this video on this next slide and get a little bit more of a better understanding on what is anxiety and what's the response within us.
You know what anxiety feels like. We all do. Everyone experiences anxiety in some way or another. It's something that connects all of us together. Why we feel anxiety and what it really is, that may surprise you. Without anxiety, we'd all be in serious trouble. As soon as your brain senses you're in danger, a little piece of it, called the amygdala, kicks in. It gets your body ready to react. That could mean fight, run away, or shut down. It's called the fight, flight, or freeze response. This reaction goes back millions of years to our distant animal ancestors. Animals whose amygdalae were more sensitive to danger were more likely to stay alive and off the menu. Over millions of generations, this developed into the system we all know as anxiety. So you see, anxiety itself is not all bad. But when there's no immediate life or death threat, and your amygdala keeps telling your body that you're in danger, that's when anxiety becomes a problem. Your amygdala doesn't know the difference between getting eaten and public speaking or failing a test. Human society has only existed for a relatively short time. It's messy and complicated and confusing, and our amygdalae just haven't had time to catch up. So sometimes, when we're in uncomfortable situations, our brains misread the risk and overreact. Our hearts beat faster and we breathe heavily, pulling more oxygen into our bodies. The muscles in our arms and legs tense up and fill with blood. Our skin perspires to cool us down. This would all be great if we needed to fight or run, but instead, we just feel tense and sweaty. Sometimes our minds go blank and we feel like we can't move or talk. That would be great if we needed to hide. Instead, we just feel stuck. When things trigger our anxiety, sometimes we try to avoid them, like our ancestors avoiding a predator. But that can cause problems when those triggers are important parts of life, like going to school or meeting new people, things that won't just give up and go away. So how does knowing all this help? Well, it starts with remembering what's really going on. There's nothing physically wrong with you. It's just your amygdala trying to tell you it thinks you're in danger, even if it gets confused about how much danger you're really in. Understanding why we feel anxiety is an important step in learning to manage it.
So the next step for folks is often learning how to talk to yourself about those big feelings that come up with anxiety.
You know what anxiety...
being able to say, thanks body, thanks amygdala, I really appreciate you giving me this warning, but I'm actually not being chased by a lion right now. I'm taking a Spanish test. So learning how to talk yourself through things and knowing that things like a Spanish test are actually positive stress. There's different levels of stress.
Yep, we just lost volume on Ms. Moran.
To a classroom where you don't have any friends. Those are positive stress situations, and those are actually going to help you handle things when things get toxic. And tolerable is like upping the stakes a little bit, and toxic is more like physical or emotional abuse. But please know that positive stress is actually a good thing and will help you through tougher times later in life that inevitably as a human we experience. So learning to talk your way through things and understanding the stress response is actually going to be pretty helpful.
So how can you make school and life less stressful? So first of all, let's remember that all stress isn't necessarily bad. There's good stress, there's healthy levels of stress. And the first thing you can do is in that TED Talk is adjust your thinking about stress and realizing that stress is adaptive and stress can be a helpful thing for you. So it's getting you ready to take action and to do something. So that's one thing you can do. But if it's moving into that from positive stress, moving into that, toward into the toxic range from tolerable to toxic, then you have to do some things to manage your stress. And there's a few different ways to do that. There's relaxation techniques, there's mindfulness, there's definitely some things that you can do that help control the stress and to alleviate the stress. And one of them, of course, is just engaging with other humans, being kind, being engaged, helping other people. Generosity actually does alleviate stress. But some real basic things that you can just do on your own in the privacy of your own room. Nobody even has to see what you're doing. You can just do this by yourself. And there's breathing exercises. And then there's this simple one that we can do right now, we'll do this right now. So it's simply just sitting in your chair and identifying 4 things that you can see. So I can see my computer screen, I can see a painting on the other side of the room, I can see the lamp off to my left, and I can see a chest of drawers over on the right. So 4 things I can see, 3 things I can feel. I can feel the chair under my seat. I can feel the shoes on my feet, and then I can feel the surface of where my computer is sitting. 2 things I can hear. I can hear the hum of the furnace in the background, and I can hear traffic going down the street. And then 1 thing I can smell or taste. So, and I can still taste that delicious cookie I had just before I logged onto this webinar. So just going through, just getting in touch with all of your senses. Just one simple thing, just to be really aware of what's going on around you, just really getting in touch with your senses and focusing your concentration just on what's going on for you right there. Again, there's breathing exercises. There's lots of mindfulness exercises to just center yourself, calming your heart rate down and getting you focused just in the moment where you are. You can search up on any of your browsers a bunch of different mindfulness exercises to try. This is just one, but they're all really helpful for you.
And there's a lot of apps that are out there, like Calm, and there's Headspace, a lot of different apps that are specifically devoted to this as well. And other things that you can do as well is just building positive activities into your daily life. I think particularly now where we're at, I think the more that you can build something that you enjoy into every day is huge. So whether or not that is a TV show that you're looking forward to, or a certain video game, or looking at reaching out to a friend, or connecting to someone in whatever way you can connect right now is going to be huge. And I think, one thing that I think we'll talk about a little bit is just when you're doing that, definitely setting that as a reward for yourself and building that into your day. Try not to do that in lieu of the other things that you need to do, but making sure it's a part of what your day is. So you have something to look forward to. Practicing gratitude, and so many people say this is super helpful, is really taking the time to say, what are you thankful for? And trying to write 3 things down each day that you're thankful for. And it just really kind of like puts things into perspective. And if you've never tried it, even if you think it's hokey, give it a shot if you would, just to try this and see how it feels. It might take a little practice, but give it a try. And regularly plan things again that you can look forward to. Exercising and eating well, whatever that looks like for you, some form of exercise that you enjoy, and eating well as well. Those are things, drinking water, trying to get as much sleep as you can. Those are things that will help alleviate your stress as well, or help you manage it better when it comes to you. And surrounding yourself with positive and supportive people. So just if that's virtually, if that's in person, however you can do that. And a big one is don't hesitate, please don't hesitate to reach out for support. So we're here for you as your school counselors, your family members, your friends, just reaching out to other people. And as that video said, really when you're having stress, it is sometimes you feel like you're reclusing a little bit, but if anything, it's actually reaching out is going to be what it really is hoping for to help it out. And so please do that. Some other preventive strategies, organizing yourself. Many of you probably know the feeling of when you are behind in things, or you're feeling so overwhelmed. It feels like this massive, massive bubble over your head, like a blob, I call it. And so by organizing yourself, whether it's making lists, using a calendar, a planner, a homework app, a small notebook. I have some of those in my office if you need them, we do. But by doing that, it takes that big blob, that stressful blob, and brings it down to a manageable level that you can actually handle and manage much easier. So definitely organizing yourself. I know many of you have found that that's super helpful. Sometimes you forget, you try, you start strong, and then it slips. you can always just keep trying, come back to those strategies that have worked. And if they don't work, try something new. Communicating with your teachers. If you're feeling like you're falling behind or you need help, reaching out to teachers so you don't feel like you're on an island all by yourself. You can do that in person, through email. If you have a study hall, going in before school or after school and using office hours, anything like that, just reaching out for help when you need it so you don't feel stuck. Stuck's an awful feeling to have. Using your resources, whatever those are, and building in time for regular contact with your support. So again, I think sometimes the best thing to do is write down the people that you can go to if you need to talk to someone in times when you're not stressed, so that in the times when you're stressed and all of a sudden that stress response happens where you are sometimes where your brain's kind of shutting off because it's doing the fight or flight, you have something written down that reminds you of all those strategies and those coping skills that you have. So definitely writing those down now rather than when you're in a time of stress. And sometimes if the stress is so hard, like looking at finding professional counseling or support outside of school, that's actually a very brave thing to do, and something that we highly recommend if you need it. I think many people need it in their lives for here and there.
All right. And then knowing that you have some skills in your back pocket when you are feeling stressed or overwhelmed or anxious or sad that you can use. And again, doing this when you're in a calm place so that when you're upset or struggling, you know what you can do. And one of our very wise colleagues, Joelle Van Lent, once said to us around the pandemic, we're not going to bubble bath our way out of this. So there are some situations that a bubble bath or a walk or a little bit of a Netflix binge is just not going to solve, but it might soften the blow and it might help you get through a little bit. It's important to really feel what you're feeling, let yourself be a human and feel things, but then, also protect yourself and help yourself and soothe yourself in some way, shape, or form. So this is a live link. This is a coping skills sheet. Mr. Hall, if you can click on it, we can show you. It's on our website as well. It's a 2-pager. There's a whole long list of things that you can do. Take a look at it and check some stuff off. And then when you're upset, maybe you can go through, you don't have to really think, like you can just say like, oh yeah, write a poem, write some song lyrics. I forgot, like playing with that guitar that's in the basement. It's kind of like a nice retreat sometimes. Little things like blowing bubbles, going for a bike ride, jump rope, small little things that, again, it's not going to fix life, but it might help soothe a little bit. So definitely helpful to have a personalized coping skills list that that you can use when you're struggling.
Oops, sorry about that.
Click right back on that tab that says stress management. And a lot of times it's helpful just to practice these things. We have a long break coming up, so I would encourage all of you to check off at least 5 and then spend a day when you're home practicing coping skills. And it might look like you're just doing fun stuff, but you're also practicing coping skills and you're training your brain for doing these things for when you are having a tough time.
Okay.
So that tab on the top, the stress management tab.
Yeah, I'm trying, but I got to get rid of my controls. They're blocking my tabs.
And if folks have questions, they can put those in the chat.
There we go.
Great. So this is on our website. We have a mental health and wellness page so it's on the CHS website under counseling, and then under mental health and wellness. And it's hard to see, but we've got a coping skills link, which is that list of what Miss Miranda showed. We also have a stress management one. Lifestyle medicine. We've got a list of local counselors. They're not recommendations, but a list in case you want to seek out some outside support. Some mindfulness skills, which is several of them, a whole page of them, and stress management. And then the You Matter team, which is now called the We Matter Here team. We have a pamphlet on there with a lot of other strategies, list of some apps that you can use for just trying to stay calm and being able to help yourself manage stress. And these are numbers and resources that you can use if something is going on actively and you really are needing to speak to somebody. Here are some of those as well. And our We Matter Here team will continue to add resources on here. So please continue. We've got some videos up above on this website from students. And so please check those out, and we will be adding more resources around how to manage stress and how to find some joy amidst these times that we're in. And if any of you are interested in hearing more about the We Matter Here team, you can reach out to me. So definitely check out this website.
All right. So again, this is the end, but just a reminder, please, please, please reach out for support. We're not supposed to do this whole life thing alone. These are our contact information is on here. If you forget who your counselor is, on the website, there's an alphabet listing of who everyone is. Use your support. You're not alone. Reach out, and hope to see you all soon.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, everybody.